Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. Here's an update on the Middle East situation, and we're going to take a look at another article saying the peace plan is delayed again. So we're gonna talk about that and what that really means. Let's take a look at this first. The latest news out of the Middle East is that there's been some attacks on a number of oil tankers. Saudi energy minister says 2 Saudi oil tankers attacked near UAE waters. And of course, Iran is denying it's them. And we're going to take a look at that. This one says Dubai. Saudi Arabia said Monday that 2 oil tankers were among vessels targeted by a sabotage attack off the coast of the UAE, condemning an attempt to undermine security of global crude supplies. And of course, many are suggesting that this is Iran. Iran, if you will. Iran would like to disrupt this because of all the sanctions, because of the financial pressure. And they've said, you know what, if our oil can't be sold on the world market, then we're not going to allow anybody else's oil to be sold on the world market either. So world powers kind of expect Iran to go ahead and attempt to slow down or cause terror events by way of proxy, forces, etc. But to otherwise inject scarcity into the oil market to scare off Western nations from doing anything against Iran. And so we have this happening. I saw another report of up to, I think, 9 different vessels that were apparently attacked. The UAE gave no details on the nature of the sabotage or who was behind it. It said there were no casualties. The strait is a vital oil and gas shipping route and then separates the Gulf states and Iran, which has been embroiled in an escalating war of words with the United States over sanctions. So that's the situation. Breaking news from Debka, 2 Saudi tankers with oil for U.S. among 4 ships sabotaged off the waters of Fujairah. May 12th, this is just yesterday. 2 of the 4 cargo ships sabotaged Sunday were oil tankers, said Saudi Minister Al-Fali Monday, calling the attack a threat to security of global oil supplies. And this is the issue. This is the situation that's happening in the Middle East. A threat to global oil supplies, which is going to increase the price of oil on the world markets. And some have suggested that this could very well be the trigger event of the world economic collapse. You have this oil situation in the Middle East. You have the tariffs and trade wars with China occurring right now, and you have 2 of the biggest factors in world economics being played out here, which could be the factors that lead to the economic collapse. And the world is on the precipice of the economic collapse, where this current situation is unsustainable with the debt in the world. So what is Iran saying about this? Well, Iranian commander calls U.S. military in Gulf a target, but not a threat, they say. So the U.S. military in the Gulf is a target, but not a threat. And of course, they've been shipping missiles to the location over the last week or so. A senior Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander said Sunday that U.S. military presence in the Gulf used to be a serious threat, but now represents just a target. U.S. military has sent forces including aircraft carrier and B-52 bombers to the Middle East in a move that U.S. officials said was made to counter clear indications of threats from Iran to American forces in the region. So apparently there's a threat on U.S. forces, and that's why the U.S. significantly beefed up its forces in the Middle East to take care of whatever threat, however the threat may reveal itself. An aircraft carrier that had at least 40 to 50 planes and 6,000 forces gathered within it was a serious threat from the U.S. in the past, but now it's just a target, and threats have switched to opportunities, said Amirali Hajirzadeh, head of Guard's Aerospace Division. So it's just a target for Iran, nothing more. If the Americans make a move, we will hit them in the head, it says. Interesting. I guess different cultures use different phrases, etc. And just interesting that we will hit them in the head. It's not something you'd see an American commander saying. Regardless, let's go on here. Iran Guard chief says Americans have started a psychological war. The U.S. has concentrated naval power and B-52s in the Persian Gulf in recent days, and so Iran is saying it's a psychological war with the sanctions, with the buildup of military. They think that the U.S. is effectively trying to scare them, and really in a way that they are. Hossam Salami attended a closed session of parliament in Tehran on Sunday, according to Iranian media reports. The newly appointed head of IRGC, which Washington views as a terrorist organization, said that the U.S. is not strong enough to start a war with Iran because it has not deployed enough forces. So I guess they're calculating, and they don't see that the U.S. has enough forces to be sure to take care of Iran should there be a war. And so Iran thinks, with their forecast, their projections based on the number of U.S. military and equipment in the Middle East, they don't think that there's a war immediate there. And certainly, by the U.S., it's going to be a show of force right now. The U.S. doesn't want to go to war, and then they certainly that would cost a lot of money, more so than just having military station there, which costs a lot of money in and of itself. Salami gave his assessment to Parliament in a closed session, yet Iranian media received reports about the discussion to reassure the country that war is not imminent. So they're going on national TV saying war is not imminent. The Iranian government doesn't want war. The U.S. has concentrated naval power and B-52s in the Persian Gulf in recent days. It says, warning that an attack by Iran or its proxies would be met with a military response. Iran takes this seriously, with Tasnim News expressing concern about U.S. President Donald Trump's crazy behavior. So it's an interesting situation there in the Middle East. It sounds like Iran recognizes the military might. They have no interest really going against the United States, especially with the buildup. They're happy to do things when the U.S. military isn't close, but when they are close, they're trying to rein it in. They're trying to stop fear of the citizens that war is imminent, etc. So let's go to the peace plan, because this peace deal is something that's going to be brought really upon Israel and the Palestinians, but really the world is going to see it as peace for the world in a sort of a way. They're going to think that peace and security are finally here because, oddly, most of the world thinks that, if we could only figure out the Israeli-Palestinian issue, then we would have peace in all the rest of the world. And I don't know how all the rest of the world has any connection to the Israeli-Palestinian peace issue, other than it being the hardest, peace to bring about after 71 years of trying in the Middle East. And maybe that's the purpose. Maybe people think, well, it's it's been so hard, and they've never had peace there for 71 years. It's the hardest peace to bring about. So maybe if that one's resolved, maybe there's hope for all the other unpeaceful situations in the rest of the world. But it's certainly strange that really the focus of the world is on the Middle East. More than that, it's on Israel. More than that, it's on Jerusalem. And the Bible says that Jerusalem will be a burdensome stone in the last days. The whole world will look upon Jerusalem, and that's exactly what's happening. The world powers are gathering around Israel, not necessarily because of Israel, but because of other things. U.S. has forces in the Middle East. Russia has forces in the Middle East. Ships in the Mediterranean, personnel on the ground, fighter aircraft in the sky, etc. So the world's militaries are there. I don't know how much at this point is there of China. I think, once you start seeing China move, you're going to see who China is allied with, and certainly we know China is allied with the United States, not the United States, but Russia rather. And so when they start moving military equipment, that's going to really be interesting if that's going to occur prior to some of the big wars that happen. So let's move on to the peace plan, and we'll end with this. This is from YNetNews.com. U.S. Mideast envoy says deal of the century to be delayed once more. So this is Greenblatt speaking. U.S. specialist Greenblatt said Saturday that Trump administration's long-delayed peace proposal dubbed the deal of the century, will not be unveiled until mid-June. So we've had it put off for 2 years now. And then they said, well, after the Israeli elections, we'll reveal it. And then they said, well, after Ramadan, we'll reveal it. Now they're saying, well, after the Jewish holiday of Shavuot, we're going to reveal it. So that's mid-June now we're talking. And will they delay it once more? Wouldn't it be interesting if they delayed it until the fall period when all the other big prophetic timelines are in play? Wouldn't that be interesting? That being said, I think there needs to be time for some things to roll out, for some prophetic wars to happen as a result of this before the actual implementation of it, and the Antichrist figure kind of grabs this and runs with it. That being said, it could be something that is rolled out just prior to the fall time events. Bible prophecy could be fulfilled very quickly. The Bible says that for the elect's sake, the time will be shortened in this period. So will God speed up time? Will he speed up these events? Will these events happen in quick succession, from the revealing of the peace plan to the prophetic wars, all in the matter of days or weeks and not months? Are we dealing with that short of time frame? So at this point, does it matter if this peace plan is revealed sooner than later? Because it could happen. It could roll out very quickly. Last month, reports suggest that White House senior advisor Kushner, the plan's architect, planned to unveil the proposal after Israel forms a coalition. And then they said after the holy month of Ramadan, which ends early June, it says. One thing we won't do, the Trump administration won't compromise on Israel's security. Greenblatt spoke Thursday at the UN, meant to condemn Israeli military action against the latest round of cross-border fighting in Gaza. The meeting, during which Palestinian Foreign Minister also gave a speech, was held on Israel's 71st Independence Day. So the UN speaking against Israel and the rocket fire, and it is very anti-Israel, and Israel was the only country not invited to this special session. I'm not a believer in boycotts, but in engagement, said Greenblatt. It's outrageous to hold a meeting like this without addressing attacks on Israel. This from a body who would not condemn Hamas several months ago, and this is all related. You can see the turmoil and the interest really by the world to get rid of Israel as a whole. They're kind of siding with the Palestinians and the rest of the Arabs who say, really debt Israel, push Israel into the map. Now, I shouldn't say all Arabs, but Egypt, Saudi Arabia, they're kind of at peace with Israel right now. They don't want to see Israel wiped into the sea. They're on Israel's side as it relates to Iran. So there's countries that are on Israel's side, and certainly there's a peace agreement still with Jordan, although it's hanging by a thread. So Israel does have peace with several Arab neighbors, and the Bible speaks of several of these countries being really not part of the wars against Israel, and even going as far as saying that Egypt will be blessed in the last days. So interesting things like that, but interesting timing of the peace plan. And what does this mean in terms of greater Bible prophecy and the biblical prophetic timeline? It's only been pushed off a little bit, so hopefully it will be revealed, because I think we're all excited to see what exactly is in this. Does this line up with the peace plan spoken of in Daniel, the one that the Antichrist figure is going to put forth and put into place specifically? And who will be the Antichrist? Is he on the world stage right now? And I was just that he is on the world stage right now. We don't know exactly who he is, and he won't be controlled by Satan yet. So he's probably just a regular politician who at that point will be deployed to basically put this into play, this peace deal, whatever it is, whether it's Trump's or someone else's. But certainly this Trump deal of the century seems to be the one at this point, as far as we know, based on the information that we have, to be the change maker, the one that's different than all the ones prior to it. It's going to be interesting to see how this rolls out. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll leave it there, and we'll see you guys in the next video.